I've got 7:03, and I'm Greg Hall, President of Lummi Island Community Association. And at this time, I'll call the meeting to order. As an order of business, since we're on Zoom, I would ask that each of you mute. Make sure you are muted unless we get to questions. As we go through questions, we will give every opportunity to everybody to have a chance to speak. With that, I'll go ahead and introduce the board. Like I said, I'm Greg Hall. I'm the president. Alan Crum, raise your hand, Alan, is our vice president. Our treasurer, Paul Davis. Paul, there you go. Our secretary, Connie Berry. And our board members, Mary Ross, who is hosting the meeting tonight. Carol McKinney. Got Victoria Souze, Bill Daly. Who else do we not have?
Gail.
Gail is missing tonight. Okay.
No.
No, there's Gail. There, I was screening across and didn't see you there, Gail. So that's our board of directors. Welcome to each and every one of you for making it tonight. If you're new to attending a LICA meeting, feel free to raise your hand, introduce yourself so we know who you are. And if you're an islander, even better still, welcome to the island. Anybody here that's new, never been? There we go. Donna Starr. Hi, Donna. Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, I'm from Blaine, Washington, and I just was very interested in what you was on your agenda for tonight.
Excellent. Welcome.
And Dick Conboy from Bellingham. Liz Marshall asked me to come along and talk about the direct contracting enterprise there at Peace Health.
Wonderful. Nice to have you here, Dick. Anyone else? Well, with that, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. The agenda was sent on out, is on the website. Alan is going to screen share it on up. You'll each be able to take a look at it. Alan, if you would move that on up a little.
Yeah. Hold on, getting things in place.
We have a lengthy agenda tonight, so we're going to move right along through some of these items. There'll be the treasurer's annual report, my annual report, some website developments, get into new business, future Grange Hall meetings. Then we will get into LICA grants, which we will go through in detail. We will have an election tonight of LICA board members, Paul Davis, Mary Ross, Bill Daly, Alan Crum, all up for election this year. Then I will take some time and go through bylaw revisions that we are proposing and were presented last month as well. And then we will get to the part that many of you are here for, presentation on Medicare direct contracting entities. And then the fun part, we get to give away $30 if you are a LICA member and present. Comes in handy if you are a member, it pays to show up. So with that, I would like an approval of the agenda. Carol, I think that was a motion, but you're muted.
I vote to approve the agenda.
Gail, do I have a second?
Second, I was muted yet. Sorry.
Okay, we've got approval, second. Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Let's move on. Meeting minutes. Those two are also posted on our website, sent on out also by Brown Betty and available in many different forums. They are rather lengthy. We are not going to take the time to read through them entirely. Hopefully, if you reviewed them before the meeting. Are there any corrections, additions, or changes to the meeting minutes of Wednesday, January 26, 2022?
I move that we approve them.
Moved
I second it.
and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We will move on. Treasurer's annual report, fun stuff, money.
Well, the year was a good year for us. Our income for the entire year was 21,500. Our tome expenses were down because we didn't print through the whole year. So we're financially in good shape. Total expenses 13,000 plus. And under expenses, the tome was $2,240. Since we didn't spend a lot of money on the tome, we spent more money on grants, $7,500. Any questions? Oh, there's something at the bottom of the page there, that last number, expenses as percent of starting balance. This shows that we spent 2/3 of the money we had at the start of the year. An interesting thing, which means we don't have a huge reserve year to year. We have to earn the money we spend each year, roughly speaking. That thing at the bottom there is the same numbers, but in a different format. Any questions? Hearing none. Move on to the January 22 report. January is a month of high revenue because late subscribers and late tone advertisers are paying in at the last minute. And so we have a lot of subscription and tone income, as you can see there, and a big donation. And in amongst those big numbers, you see that little bitty Whatcom Educational Credit Union dividend. In the whole year, we made $3.70. It will be higher this year. What else? Under expenses, you see two big items, $980 for our directors and Murray, what is that? Directors and officers liability insurance. And we paid one leftover grant from 2020 of $500 to the Heritage Trust. We have a balance of $22,300. Expenses $13,000. Our phone book balance is plus $1,322. If you look normally over the past many years, our annual income from the tome has been right around $10,000 every year, a little bit more, a little bit less. If you look here, subscriptions, 66, I can't quite read it with these glasses. 66.79, and tone advertising 33.21. If you add those two numbers together, what do you think you get? Exactly 10,000, which is fun. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate it. like it continues to be in business, and we are in business. So at that time, I'll move on to my report. Many of you may have read my report on either the website or as it was published in the tome. If you're a subscriber, fantastic. Love to have you. Your subscription supports the entire island in many ways, because what we bring in, we use to give information out to you, what's going on in the island, what's going on in your community through the various other organizations. We report all of that on into you. We're in the information business. And then with what we make beyond that, we donate it in grants back on out into the community to help build our community. Our new motto as of last year, putting unity back in community. So it was a tough year. Anybody here not affected by COVID? Anybody not affected by it?
Not much. I'm a hermit just like I was before.
It was tough. We didn't get to meet at the Grange. I miss potlucks. I miss gathering together. I miss the socialization. Good news. Starting March 21st, mask mandates for indoors is changing. That's good. Hopefully we'll get back to some level of balance of maybe a combination, a hybrid meeting, being able to meet and also be on Zoom at the same time. Board will be talking about that during the March meeting of our board, but good news, things are slowly starting to wind down.
Is Crumb?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, it is.
Hello?
Hello? Who's just speaking?
Susan.
Anyway, moving on with the report. What did we do last year? Well, we didn't fold up our tent. Unfortunately, the Grange makes its income when it's able to rent on out the facility. That didn't happen very much at all last year. We kept going. We switched over to this format, Zoom. Thank you, Mary Ross, who hosts it and has kept us going and alive and well as an organization, as a community. Those on the website team, the things that they've done to bring that forward. But we grew. We grew in a variety of new ways. We did a spring cleanup that was organized completely online. We partnered with the Heritage Trust. We had a science program of theirs run through our system online as well, and tied it in conjunction with the library all at the same time. That was pretty good coordination. We did a lot of different things last year. We didn't have a blood drive, unfortunately. Hopefully this year we can get back to that. But the health and well-being of Leica is well. Thanks to this board. That's my report. Oh, and a personal thanks to our crew that keeps, during all of the COVID and everything else, mowing, trimming, hedging, fencing, and tending to our park. You notice it when you go there to park during dry dock, and this year it's in May. With that, I will close my report. We're doing well financially in a variety of other different ways. Old business.
MJ has her hand raised.
MJ.
Hey guys, I just wanted, I've started not driving in the dark. So, I'm old. So I just think I really appreciate the Zoom meetings, and I hope you can keep up the hybrid meetings. at least in the winter when it's dark. And it's probably dark at night. I don't remember anymore. So been hibernating so much, but anyway, thanks so much.
I don't like driving in the cold. You're welcome. And hopefully, when we put it all together, we will always have a Zoom contingent available in conjunction with. My goal and the goal of the board has been to make his participation easy. And no, it's not easy to leave your home, go to a meeting at the Grange Hall and do the things there. And what we really want is your participation, so you're informed, because a better informed community is a better running community. With that, I'll move on to website developments, and the head of our team, Alan Crum.
Okay, let me do another share here. I have it ready, I think. And okay, and you can hear me. Okay, not a huge amount to report, other than as some of you may already know, on the main website, if you're on a desktop or a laptop, you'll see the menu bar here. Under community, we have the last couple months had classifieds and discussions have been brought up and are running. These have been in development for over a year and a half, going through multiple iterations and testing different systems and stuff. And this is what we've landed on at this point. I just made a mistake. Hold on, I have to log in. Give me a second. The discussion section, if you go to it from the public, you see this basically a synopsis of what it's all about, and the statement you have to log in to create posts and topics, and the public can see these two sections. When you do log in, which I will do here real quick, you see the whole thing. We decided to do this because otherwise we can get an awful lot of spam and problems coming in. Nextdoor does the same sort of thing. A lot of forums do, where you have to verify who you are before you can participate. So this is our way of doing it, is that you're a Tome subscriber, you can get in here. Let me get back to where I was. And we'll talk about that for a second. Just a quickie. Okay, so now that I'm logged in, you can see everything that people can see. And all you have to do is request a login, and that's done under community, this very last thing down here. Request ability to log in, that sends us a form. We double check it against the records. And Bob's your uncle, you're in. We have had 5 people so far, however, that have asked for a sign in, and we're working with them because they did not actually contribute to the subscription to the Tone for 2022 yet. A couple of them are checking the records and fixing that as I speak. But there are a lot of topics down here. Not a lot of discussion yet, but as we say here, it's new territory. So those of you that have a sign in, please feel free, find a topic that interests you. We had one of our first topics was from John Robinson, which was talking about doing an off, the concept of an island off leash area. I've got some things in there about travel. Gail has posted something in there for, she has a great view from her house, wish we had it. And then Mary has posted in some town hall meeting information under the public docs section. But this is going well. We've got quite a number of people that have signed up. We've got quite a number of people that are checking this section every day. But it's the old chicken and the egg. You need people to start conversations to have conversations. So with this and the website in general, we always say, please, you don't have to be a member of the board. You just have to be interested in helping your community and your fellow neighbors, and be interested in giving us content or helping us with content. You do not have to be computer savvy to do that, although it's very nice. But there's this section here, this post on the front page. This happens to go directly to Gail, who is coordinating that effort on finding additional people to help contribute. This, if you click on this link, it'll tell you all about that. But that's about it. There's a lot of new stuff in process and being researched, but just like the discussion section, it takes a lot of time and effort to do that, and a lot of hours. But what we really need right now is additional people helping with content, either in the discussion area or in any of these other sections. Like, we've got a section that we really want to start fleshing out on nature and conservation. Elizabeth has said that she'll start contributing sections in here about the geological history of the island. And with that, there is also a full section available for that kind of thing, also in the regular discussion area. The main pages are for like static information, but here like is the section for that Elizabeth will mostly be posting in for geology, petrology, and mineralogy. That's for discussions and things. So we allow it to be two things. It's a resource with static information for you to look up and learn about and find out about things on the island. And then the second is the dynamic section, which is this discussion area. And that's about it I have for here, unless somebody has a question.
Question. Alan, is that discussion under community?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I just took a photo today. In fact, I was at the post office for something, and I saw something. I took a picture of it, and I'm going to post it up in the History Nook corner. That's just for you and other people that are into history buffs to see what it is, because I've never noticed it before, and it's something in the ground. And it's obviously some sort of art piece or memorial or something. So that'll be under there. And for those of you that have a desktop, it's in the main menu, it's community, then discussions. Those of you that have a mobile device, like your mobile phone, it also works, but you just, your left-hand menu, you'll see it as discussions. You don't have that extra step. We just try to keep the menu size small, because otherwise it'll just wrap your screen. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Alan. As not only president, but as another admin of the website, and it like his website, but not, it's a community website open to every organization on the island to bring it all together to a singular end. And I get to comment now on the website in itself, where many websites are outward looking toward tourism and those coming to the island. We are inward looking toward residents, property owners, those with vested interest on the island. So it is really your website, ourlummyisland.org. If you don't have that, just feel free to contact any of us. We'll make sure you get connected. But there's even more. Somebody asked me, well, what about those sites, like not the one in your house, but maybe next door? Well, they're free. Well, no, they aren't. You have to be a member of that organization as well. Sign up for it. Maybe you get a postcard. Maybe you get another verification through two-step, second level information to sign on up. You signed on up, but I didn't pay any money. Well, here's the kick, and you need to really pay attention. If the product is free, you're the product. We don't have ads. They sell ads to you to pay for your subscription, and you get a lot. We don't. So yes, we have a cost. Be a member. It helps the community, and you get the rest of it for free. My end on that one. New business. Let's move on. Yes, March 21st, mask mandates, according to Governor Inslee, change. And there is great information available on that online, a variety of different places. Yes, we will hopefully get back to being in the Grange. When? We don't know yet. That'll be up to the Grange because they are a rental facility. That'll be up to the county, variety of other things. But we're coming back. COVID has taken its toll, but alas, we're here. We intend to stay here. We'll be on Zoom. Hopefully, we'll always have a Zoom option available to everyone here. Now let's move on to the fun stuff. We made money. We benefit other organizations. With that, we're going to look at our grants for 2022 and discuss our grants. These were presented also last month's meeting. We are with grants requests, the Grange, because again, they didn't get to rent out their facility. They wound up financially short. They asked LICA to fund their insurance premium for liability insurance, $1,830. The Parish Health Ministry needed heat and humidity control for their food storage areas that they have. They also requested 2 ferry punch cards that they use for both Meals on Wheels and transporting people sometimes in a quasi-emergency level. Any question there, ask Paul Davis, who was taken over and those punch cards used, bring him back also from town during an emergency he had. Lummi Island Heritage Trust is requesting $500 to work on the Curry Preserve. That helps them with a variety of the supplies and equipment and things that they need. Meals on Wheels, which is a sponsored program of Lummi Island Community Association that has regular use every week of anywhere from 12 to upwards of 20 during the peak of COVID, 20 plus members that rely on meals because they're either locked in at home or financially incapable at the time. They help subsidize it. We help subsidize it as well. We keep our community healthy that way. This year, $1,000 has been requested. Life Act. Unfortunately, the Ferry Committee couldn't meet or can't meet at the fire hall anymore. So they requested that we help them with $450, and it's calculated on out at $25 an hour for the Grange, and hopefully they'll be able to meet at the Grange for meetings there because they can't meet and because they are public meetings and they are government subsidized but don't have a budget or any income. They've requested that we help them with rent at the Grange Hall. This is an interesting point with me because it is a county sponsored organization approved by county commissioners. And if LICA does that, I guarantee I'll be sending a letter on into the county commissioners and 1 or 2 others, executives, just to let them know that we're a community and we aren't going to meet off island for important things like our ferries. The church has requested virus air filters, HEPA filters for both the upstairs, downstairs area used for community meeting, etc. The filters at HEPA level help keep the air clean, purified, particularly during COVID. Our total amount requested this year, $4,789.28. All of this information, again, available out on the website. If you have any question, we list it all on down one step at a time of each and every one of these. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Paul Davis, our treasurer, moved. Second.
I second.
Okay, Gail came in, seconded. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any objections? Motion carries by acclamation. Funds will be distributed to those organizations. Next, nominations and Elizabeth.
I just want to thank you all for, on behalf of the Lummi Island Heritage Trust, we're going to be using that money as part of the planting project over the Curry Preserve. We're going to plant around 400 trees. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That helps benefit our island. I like it. Now we get to nominations and elections. We have 4 positions this year. Interesting, 9 board members, even years, we do 4, odd years, we do 5. Oh, odd, even. Oh, okay. So this year we have 4 members on up for election, 2-year terms for each one of the positions as we go. Paul Davis, position number 2. Paul, how many years have you been on the LICA board now?
About 47, I think.
47, 2 more years. Mary Ross.
Yay!
Mary Ross, who hosts the Zoom meetings and the likes, former president, glad to have her back. Wonderful. Position number 4. Bill Daly is back on up for election. Bill, glad to have you. Alan Crum, vice president, also computer geek extraordinaire. Great to have him with the team and doing the things he does. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing no nominations from the floor, I would entertain a motion to approve the candidates as presented. Got to unmute.
I move that we, well, whatever we have to do.
Move to elect the candidates as presented.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, Lorenz seconds. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, are there any objections? Hearing no objection, motion carries as by acclamation. And unfortunately, those 4 people get to serve another 2 years. Love to have you.
Yay!
With that, we get on into the last main part of tonight's meeting, which is important, and that's our bylaws revisions. I own an older car and it needed some repairs, and sometimes organizations need that too. In our bylaws, we formed a committee, went through them very carefully, and they've been very functional for years, but there were some things that needed tweaking and updating. So we updated a variety of those things and brought things into conformance with a little bit better standards, we think, for the year. They were presented last month. They have been on the website as well. The information is on out there. We want to walk through that. Thank you, Alan, for bringing that up. These are the recommended changes for 2022. If it's highlighted, it's where we revised. Let's move on down. We don't get down till we get to a little while. Interesting, laws change, and the laws that were on in here concerning liabilities and obligations and assets went away. So we're just deleting in this particular section those laws that were quoted and went down a little bit further into the 501c3 definition. And instead of simply saying in the code, it's the Internal Revenue Code. So we added internal revenue. Move along. As we get a little farther down, meeting schedule. Well, guess what? COVID came along. We couldn't meet in the Grange Hall. We couldn't meet the same requirements. And our bylaws said we would meet at the Grange Hall. Well, technically, we weren't supposed to be able to meet by Zoom. Then Governor Inslee passed an order, an executive order, and renewed it a second time that allowed nonprofit organizations to meet electronically. Here we are. So we deleted the Grange Hall requirement itself and will be conducted in accordance with Robert's Rule of Order. Well, it wasn't clear enough, so I recommended, but the team put the correct terminology. That's at the bottom of the whole set. We'll get to that. Annual meeting will be at the Grange Hall unless otherwise announced. Well, here we are on Zoom. Couldn't do that. We're striking on out the Grange Hall. It locked us into one particular place, one particular format, and we added the terminology annual community grants. Now, what was interesting is neither our bylaws or in our policies and procedures were grants ever addressed. Only the expense of money had to be approved by so many board members. So, or not board, by the general membership for us to be able to give money on out like any other liability, not like a grant. So we are clearly defining and will during this year, the board will within its own ends, develop policies and procedures to clarify and clean on up that aspect so that grants then become more like grants. And we have very clean guidelines for those seeking those funds. A quorum used to be those members present, well, physically present and added, or participating by video or teleconference. That means we're able to meet as we're meeting tonight, or in a hybrid meeting, a combination. That still means they are present. That allows us the quorum in the way that we meet. We struck the line entirely. Members may not participate in general membership meetings by teleconference. It just, after COVID, made no sense. And so here we are, and let's move along. Next, we had to look at, like I said, elect 5 in an odd year, 4 in an even year, 9 members. But what happens when you lose a member? They either resign, unfortunately, they die, something else occurs, and we wind on up with a vacancy. Well, to keep that consistency of 4 and 5 and a 2-year term cycle, we realized that if somebody is appointed for 6 months and then elected to 2 terms, or their maximum amount of terms, the cycle gets thrown off and we either wind up reappointing or whatever. So if a person is appointed on in to a board position, that time frame that they are appointed will not count to the total term limit. The reason for that is it keeps our cycle working evenly and the elections stay the same by position, not by person. We added the word on in there, the term of the board members shall be staggered for continuity. Just that way we keep corporate knowledge going from one year to the next. The board shall transact business at meetings held on the 2nd Wednesday. Well, that got to be kind of a conflict because Heritage Trust, right? Others were having meetings on Wednesday. We went to Tuesdays. And so with your blessing, we'd like to make it Tuesday night and unless canceled. Just a change of terminology there, clean up the language. Actions by written consent. Any action requires immediate resolution, may be taken without a meeting, i.e. electronic vote. Yeah, well, we struck it. Any action, including actions required by law, may be taken without a meeting. Such action requires the unanimous vote of all seated board members, unanimous of all seated board members via email on a motion made in a video conference or by email, and all responses shall be placed in the minute book of Leica. Such action shall have the same force and effect as a unanimous vote of the board taken in an actual meeting. This action shall be affirmed by a vote of board members in attendance at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. This just cleaned on up some of the language and gave us the legal responsibility. Look, we aren't going to act on something on a whim. And if it's written consent, then it's email or electronic like we are doing now. We want some sort of record, some sort of unanimous consent to be able to move forward on that. Let's move on. Added on down here, a board member should be considered present at any meeting of the board or committees if during the meeting he or she is present via telephone or, and said web, we went to video because we're video conferencing. Let's move on. Again, cleaning on up language. And financial responsibilities, Leica funds may be dispersed only, and it said by check, but now it's only by the treasurer, because we do things with PayPal, we do things with a debit card when needed. We move money in a couple other different ways to pay our bills or to keep our website, etc., up and operational. The other thing we did is when we looked at our amounts and unbudgeted financial transactions, we were at 300. Is there anybody here who has not been impacted by the inflation of the last several years? $300 has been there for years. We just felt it important for some of the things we need to do to move that up a little to $500. Let's move on. Unbudgeted expenditures. This got a little complex in the way it looks initially, but it isn't. Are expenditures and community grants that exceed $500. Strike out some of the old stuff. Must be approved by 2/3 majority of the board and majority of the members at one general membership meeting after providing published notice at least 5 days in advance. We did that. We published not only on the website, on out via Brown Betty, on out there via the tome. So that information is on out there, but anytime we spend more than $500, which is the amount from the paragraph up above, it has to come to the membership, and the membership has to approve it at a meeting, and we have to notice you in advance. We switched from newsletter because the tome isn't a newsletter, it really is more than that. And we switched to call it publications because we have a website, we have the tome, and we have Brown Betty. We have the phone book, and there may be more coming. So the board should cause notice and publication of membership meetings in those publications. Down to policy and procedures. There you go, stick there for half a second. The bylaws are what's approved by the membership to guide us, the board. The policy and procedures are developed by the board. You're telling us what we're going to do, and policy and procedures say this is how we're going to achieve that, the way we're going to go. So the purpose of policies and procedures guide the board of directors in its role accomplishing Leica's mission, provide a framework for operations, and monitor the finances of the organization. The board shall develop, maintain, and review policies and procedures as necessary. We have established policies and procedures. Let's move on. Fiscal year, just change this on up from these to the bylaws may be amended by. How they are amended. We changed this, it was an odd thing. We were having it we had to have 2 meetings and voted on it 2 different times. And that got a little bit complex because we asked the question, well, what if they vote yes the first time and no the second time? What do we do? So we know of no other election, president, Congress, governor, bond, where you do it twice. So we made it through, we'll announce it, a second meeting, we'll go ahead and vote on it. Board policies and procedures may be amended by a majority of the directors present at any board meeting, providing a quorum is present and a copy of the proposed amendment have been provided each director at least 1 week prior to said meeting. We don't make changes to policies and procedures on a whim. It is a majority vote. We have to go through it. And then remember when I talked about Robert's Rules of Order? Well, there's a very interesting thing. I happen to have a copy of it on hand tonight. I keep it electronically just in case. But the interesting thing about Robert's Rule of Order going way on back into the 1800s is what version? And we didn't say that. So we added this article, Robert's Rule of Order, parliamentary authority of the current edition, not the 1913, of Robert's Rule of Order, newly revised, shall govern all business meetings. So we brought that just back on down and put it where it belongs so that this is how we close on off all of our bylaws is we follow Robert's rules here. And that's the changes that the bylaws committee put together. The board has approved unanimously, was presented last month and is now up for a vote of the membership. And I would entertain a motion to approve the bylaws as amended.
MJ has her hand risen.
Yes, ma'am.
I am so sorry. I'm a pain in the ass. You all know that already. 2 things. I'm interested, and this is from before. I'm interested in the admins for the website. And is there any, I kind of snoozed during some of that last stuff. So maybe the website was included in your bylaws. Is there any
No.
explanation or any of that on there? And I think that's, I'm sorry, I think that's important.
The website is a publication. There is nothing in the bylaws
Right.
concerning the tome or Brown Betty. So it is a publication. It is governed by the board of directors, not the bylaws. The administration of it is again governed by the board of directors. I happen to be one of the admins myself. We have super admin level status that I can be in as well, depending on what level we are working at to be able to do things. So the admin of that is like saying, we're going to change the editor and we need admin for the tome.
No, not exactly, because earlier this year, and Alan knows what I'm talking about, and he had some issues, and so I had requested to get into the website, but it took a while because he had some stuff going on. So that's what I want to know. I'm sorry, but I do know something about, internet and that kind of stuff and systems. And so I'm wanting to know who's the backup and who's admins and that kind of stuff. I don't know that I necessarily need to know names, but I know I need to know that there are those people in place or those positions
Yes.
in place that can back up.
Yes, it is.
You know what I
team.
mean?
It is a team. It is a team effort. I happen to be one of them. Unfortunately, during the same time, Alan was having problems. So was I. And we're a small
So
team.
is there a team list somewhere? Are there team? That's one thing I don't think I saw. You kept talking about teams early on. I didn't see any
No,
teams listed in the.
We don't see the need to be able to publish that kind of information specifically because of the security of the website itself. Who is doing
Well,
what
no,
now.
we're talking about more than just the website now. You were talking about teams for this, teams for that. I think that that's interesting. I think that's something that needs to be disseminated somewhere, maybe on that website, on whatever. If you've
that
got
will-
committees or teams, I know Mary's got that team for the public doc thing, and I think that stuff needs to be highlighted somewhere.
That will
Sorry,
be
I'm just
in our
being a pain in the
policies
ass
and
again.
procedures and not in bylaws themselves.
I
That's an internal function.
I think that's a very interesting idea, and we will definitely look at that. And I would ask Mary, I did not know, MJ, you have that kind of background, and if you would love to help us and volunteer on the administration side, that would be cool.
You know, Ellen, you and I have talked about this before, and I've been on the LICA board twice, and I know a lot of stuff, but I may not be here long enough to help you. So let's just let that, anyway, what I would like to see, I'd like to see the committees delineated somewhere. We don't see that. So if you have committees on the board, that'd be great.
Noted, appreciate the input. We will look at that. Discuss it at our next board meeting.
May I make a suggestion that that we, for the next section, which would be the motion to approve and stuff, that I would entertain, that I would love to see that the motion and the second from someone other than the board.
Good point.
Preferably a member. Do we have a motion to approve?
Lower left-hand corner.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
There you go.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just wanted to note that the motion was Elizabeth Marshall, and the second was by Cheryl Spector. Yeah, want to make sure that got into the minutes.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion carries by acclamation. Now we get to move into the fun part that I know you're all been waiting for. This one affected me very directly, interestingly. I'm retired twice. I happen to have top of the line insurances, didn't need Medicare Advantage. My wife's, a couple of her doctors happen to be at Peace Health. She's got my insurance, and lo and behold, we're suddenly getting direct care information and trying to get billing. So you have my full undivided attention. With that, we give the floor and yield it to Liz Marshall.
Where am I at now? Right?
Yep, you're talking.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me and this program on your board meeting.
Ask them to enable. hosting.
Would you please enable the screen sharing for me?
It is.
Thank you. Okay.
Still says host has.
It's still saying it's disabled.
There we go.
You should be good now.
Yep, now I see it.
And can
Thank
I
you.
ask everybody else to mute, please?
Thank you. one thing I'd like to say right off, Greg, it was interesting, your preamble, you mentioned direct care. DCE stands for Direct Contracting Entities. And it's, I've heard that a lot, that confusion with direct care. I don't think that that's an accident. On your part, I think it, was, but I'm saying I think it's been misnamed or misconstrued by others. So here we go. The trouble with DCEs. How do I do this? Okay, there we go. Nope. Nope. Okay. Let's talk about what is a DCE. It's a direct contracting entity, which is a financial intermediary between you, a Medicare beneficiary, your health providers, and private investors. So it's a Medicare pilot program, basically, that funds the DCE per each Medicare beneficiary. Doctors bill the DCE instead of directly billing Medicare. Although it's not quite that easy either. So let's preface this a little further by saying this is an extremely complicated, Byzantine even system. So I will do my best to inform you, and then we'll open it to questions, and we'll try to sort this out together. What a difference a DCE makes. With traditional Medicare, which is what I happen to have with a supplemental policy, providers are paid directly by Medicare. I can go to any doctor or hospital that takes Medicare anywhere in the US, which is almost every single one. And it's very rare to need a referral to see a specialist with traditional Medicare. On the other hand, Medicare with DCE, and this also goes for Advantage Care plans, in those, providers are paid by the DCEs with incentives to maximize profit. In most cases, you'll need to use only doctors and other providers who are in the plan's network. And it's likely that you will need to get a referral to see a specialist, particularly if that specialist is outside the network, which they often are. And that request for a referral can be denied. DCEs profit at our expense. They encourage upcoding to increase risk scores and payments. And I'll talk about upcoding more because I know it's obscure. DCEs can keep up to 40% of your payment allowance. So Medicare has an allowance for you to spend, and these DCEs get in there between you and Medicare, and they can keep that 40% of that payment as profit, whereas traditional Medicare spends up to basically 98% of their funds goes directly to patient care. So that's a big chunk. The DCEs incentivize denial of care and restriction of providers to their owned networks. We can talk about that a little bit more vis-a-vis Peace Health and the doctors' practices that they own, who will fall under this DCE. Centers for Medicare Services is targeting traditional Medicare recipients for the DCE pilot and provides their health records to the DCEs to facilitate their enrollment. Patients are enrolled, or as it's called, aligned to DCEs without their informed consent and without any option to refuse. Okay, let's go back to upcoding. It's easy to do, difficult to detect, and very profitable. Upcoding is when a healthcare service provider uses a billing code for a more expensive procedure, when in reality, a less expensive procedure was performed. Upcoding also includes a healthcare service provider asserting that a patient has a more serious diagnosis than they actually do, in order to increase the reimbursement rate that insurance will pay. Upcoding is central to the profitability to DCEs and Medicare Advantage. And let's just go a little further to say that it's important to understand that upcoding is done before before, when you're being aligned, before you even see the doctor. That upcoding is done based on your records that are gleaned from Medicare. Those are gone through, and they can say, well, we can assign this amount to this person, this amount to this person, and then you're made more attractive through upcoding. We'll go. I'm looking forward to your questions on this, because I think I'd be more conversant in that method, using that method. So the things you can do to stop DCEs: you can call Congresswoman Suzanne DelBene at her DC office and demand that she protect Medicare and her constituents. She has not signed Pramila Jayapal's letter to HHS Secretary Becerra yet. I have no idea why. We are in her district, and this hospital is in her district, and these DCEs are happening in her district, and all anybody has gotten from her is a form letter. You can call Congressman Rick Larson's office to ask that he protect his constituents as well, and that he sign Jayapal's letter. You can sign the Stop DCEs petition at the Physicians for National Health program. I really recommend that you go to that site. It's very, very helpful and full of good information. And you can call Secretary of Health and Human Services Xavier Becerra himself and tell him to stop DCEs. He can do it with a stroke of the pen, as can President Biden. And just as a last note, before we start the question period, I'd like to honor, in this very small way, Dr. Paul Farmer, who died 2 days ago. It's a huge loss. So here are some links to resources. Sorry. I'm a little overcome with that. The last one, number 4, is a beautiful article about Farmer and what he did. Thank you. Questions? Do you know where to start? Yes, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't quite understand the difference between what you're talking about and those of us who are on a Medicare Advantage thing because of what we've been forced into because of retirement coverage.
Yes, some companies do provide their employees with Advantage plans. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like we're in an Aetna plan through Bert's retirement.
Medicare
What's the
Advantage,
difference? What's the
Very-
difference?
very little. Actually, what it is that Advantage plans were the first entree for insurance companies into Medicare. And
Yeah.
it's been extremely profitable for insurance companies. And so but they've understood that there's this huge, delicious part of the pie that they haven't been able to get their fingers in. And that's us, the traditional Medicare beneficiaries, with or without supplements. We're still delicious. And so the DCEs are now targeting us, that group, which makes up 58% of beneficiaries, Medicare, all Medicare beneficiaries. And this is the way they're shoehorning private insurance into the rest, basically, of Medicare through the so-called pilot program. And, it's really, really ominous that you're not allowed to opt out. And you're not even told that this is happening. The only reason I found out about it was because of the League of Women Voters program that they put on that was just excellent. Otherwise, none of us would know. And St. Joe's is a DCE. And you are part of it, whether you like it or not. Yes, Connie.
I'm trying to unmute.
There you are.
Yeah. We had 3 people that had raised their hands already. David, MJ, and Sherry.
Okay, excuse me.
Okay. Would you like to, I'm not comfortable doing this. This is great. Whose voice was that?
It was Alan.
It's Alan Crum.
Oh, hi, Ellen. Okay, would you monitor all that for me, then? Us?
I am.
Yeah, thank you.
Alan,
I think
David,
this is David, and I'm happy to have Connie go first, and then I could go after her if we want to do it that way.
Okay, Connie.
Connie?
Yes, my question is, Peace Health has been a religious-based healthcare entity, which is nonprofit. And now under this model, their physicians will be in a for-profit enterprise. How does that match with their nonprofit status?
no.
Well, that's a very good question. I'm not sure I can answer it. I can tell you that St. Joe's, in anticipation of becoming a DCE, established at least 2 for-profit LLCs, and they bought a for-profit company called Zoom Care. And Zoom Care operates right now mostly in the Seattle area, and they have a bunch of clinics, kind of storefront clinics, I guess. So those are at least 3 for-profit entities that Peace Health owns, and who will be, and one of them, oh, by the way, is the Cascadia Community Care Alliance. That is a for-profit LLC. And I believe, from the information that I've been able to get, which isn't a lot, that community, so-called Community Care Alliance, is the parent or the umbrella, the for-profit umbrella for their doctors' practices that will be acting as DCEs. But you can't, there's really a blackout. You can't, for instance, get the agreement that these doctors are signing with Peace Health to become part of the DCE, it's said to be not publicly available, and it isn't. So it's all very secretive. And if the league hadn't brought this to our attention, I don't know how we would have found out.
David.
Sherry Lambert is here tonight, and I hope she'll comment. Oh, she's got her hand.
Let's go to the next question, David.
Liz, thank you for informing us about this. I'm not of age to be a Medicare beneficiary, but it sounds like quite a bad deal. And I know you wanted questions about upcoding. So I am a little confused about that. It seems like the healthcare providers would have an incentive to upcode even within the traditional Medicare model. So can you help us understand the difference, or how the DCEs exploit that, or,
Thank you.
benefiting?
That's a great question. Under traditional Medicare, it's so-called, the payment is so-called fee for service. So if you go to see your doctor and get a checkup, they pay a certain amount. In a DCE, if you go and get a checkup, first of all, that's your first mistake. But they'll find things, you're right, they're incentivized to inflate diagnoses and even invent them. And so, for instance, if you have recently been on steroids for some reason, your blood sugar might be elevated when you go in for your physical. And the doctor may say, well, this is a person who's pre-diabetic or something. Or they may even say you're diabetic. And you don't know what they're saying, okay? But it's on your record, and it's on your record forever. So that's a code. And that code follows you and then is elaborated on and built on. So before you know it, you've got ailments that you never heard of or imagined. But you have no way of really knowing unless you're, maniacal about checking your chart, which may or may not be revealed to you. It's really it's a crazy, crazy system that allows theft. It's just frank theft, and it's no exaggeration. Does that answer your question at all?
Let's move on. Next question, MJ.
First of all, Liz, you look fabulous. And also, I wanted to thank you for bringing all of this up in the League of Women Voters thing, which I participated in. And I think that's great. And the only thing I wanted to say is, as Liz already knows, I emailed my two biggest providers, my ortho guy and my primary provider, and asked them about this, and I got nothing back. I mean, they did not, my primary guy, who I love very much, used to live on the island, nothing. And my ortho guy only came back with some medical stuff. So these dudes are, they're in it. And even though I have advantage, which Elizabeth has already said is like, already taking advantage of them, of me or whatever. But anyway, I just think that that's really important, that those guys are not even speaking to it. And, and I go there all the time, and We talk about everything else. And when I go back, we'll be talking about that. That's it. Okay.
Sherry, you had a question.
Yes, first of all, I wanted to thank Elizabeth for getting so involved in this. I was glad she picked up the ball and is rolling with it. But some of us have been looking at this issue for 6 months to 8 months, and we're still in the dark. And I have asked my primary care doctor, who is a Peace Health doctor, is he about him being in a DCE, and he denied that he even knew anything about them. So somehow I think they're just, it's being put in under the radar for a lot of people, including some doctors, I think. But I wanted to clarify that Advantage plans, Medicare Advantage plans, are for Medicare patients, and they came out about 10 years ago, 12, 14 years ago now maybe. And the Advantage, people thought they were so wonderful because they covered gym memberships and all that. But as you get older, and need more care, they start denying care. And Medicare Advantage plans can take 15% of the healthcare dollar for overhead and insurance, that. Whereas, as Elizabeth said, traditional Medicare only takes 2%. So Medicare Advantage takes 15%. And then these DCEs, this new racket, which was actually dreamt up by Jared Kirshner and his roommate back in 10 years ago, and has been put into effect by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovations part of the Affordable Care Act. So it is the pilot program, and Biden is not doing anything to stop it. But this pilot program takes up to 40% of your healthcare dollar. And they say they're going to put it back. The physicians are going to keep some of the profit, because physicians actually don't make that much money. It's the insurance executives and the shareholders and administrators of hospitals and all the peons, we call them. I worked in healthcare for a long time, and we used to call them the suits, because there were a lot of them. And that's where the money's going, insurance people. And I just get so frustrated that Vibrant Health, they give you all these scenarios and what you might need, and what you cannot shop for healthcare. You don't know what you're going to need. So it should be just equal for everybody, not the DCEs that we don't even understand. And anyway, I'm sorry, I'm on a soapbox here. Got me riled up again, Elizabeth. But I'll try and help. Well, some of us from our committee are here. We'll help you try and answer questions. But it's a tough topic.
Thanks. I don't know how
Ellen.
to put my hand up.
Like that.
Connie, you lowered your hand? Okay.
Actually me, Brenda.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go for it. I'd rather you ask or answer questions before I say anything, because you might answer it.
Well, I was just, because I do work in healthcare, and I do work for a true nonprofit, because I work for a community health center that in most cases takes almost everyone's Medicare and stuff. So I can tell you that what happens with the money on the Advantage plans on Medicare is that the money goes back into the organization, whether it's the 15% that they take out for that or whatever, but that money goes back into the organization. So it's not going into profit, but it actually is used for patient care and to explode patient care. So enhance more physicians and more ability to care for patients. So I totally agree with what Elizabeth said. I've worked in healthcare for 40 years now. So and have seen it on all sides. But with the community health center, Unity Care and CMAR that are here in this area, those is where the money goes. When the money, whatever is profit, has to go back into that organization. And our CEOs, and there is no one that makes money off of this. We pretty much break even on a weekly basis. So what money is brought back in, it goes right back into getting more providers and better care for the patients.
Are you, Brenda, am I understanding you correctly to say that you are not a DCE?
We are not a DCE.
Okay,
A community, a federally qualified community health center, which means any money that is made goes back in, other than paying our association dues, goes back into the organization itself. We can expand and grow and take care of the people that don't have insurance, are uninsured, underinsured, and insured here in Whatcom County in this area. So if anybody's looking for positions, we have some really good ones. Just to say that.
we
Alan,
love you.
Yes, we do. I just wanted to comment that Unity Care is a nonprofit. And I happen to have, luckily, because I have some doctors that are in Peace Health, but I luckily signed up for, I've forgotten the insurance program now, but it's basically an Advantage type thing. And the reason I did that was it's the 15% or whatever, but that money is being paid to the nonprofit, Unity Care. They're actually reinvesting, and equipment for days, you're well equipped. But the main thing was that I'm lucky that I did that before this started, and because I'm already in the community health plan, I think is what it's called. I don't think they can touch me. And I wanted to see if that was in fact the case, because I have not gotten any letters yet about that kind of stuff. But I will comment that back in the 70s, I used to be third in command of running a 43 doctor medical group. So I know what she's talking about upcoding. We, in our particular instance, because we ran the way we did back in the days when you actually got good insurance, we would actually what we call down code. If a patient couldn't afford something, we would talk to the doctor and ask him can you move this to a different level, or we would work with them so that the patient could actually pay for the stuff if there was any copay type of thing. But the upcoding is a nasty thing. I think about 6 months ago, I requested my medical records, which if you're on anybody's website, like I happen to be on Unity Cares, I actually went in online and said, show me my record. And it listed all of my diagnoses. And I'm well aware how charts work, in that once it's there, you can't get rid of it. And if you've been upcoded or up-diagnosed to something, if ever we get to the situation where insurance companies can then later on say, oh, you had this thing in your past, that's now pre-existing, we won't cover it. It's very dangerous. So you really should try and find out what's on your chart and what your diagnoses listed are. I have some that are like, you've got to be kidding me, but I have no way of getting rid of them.
Donna. Get on mute, Donna.
Thank you. I think I'm off now. I wanted to say that the DCEs are a hedge fund operated middleman that's been stuck in between your doctor and your Medicare. Not everybody, as we've seen, Unity Care, CMAR, a lot of doctors don't do this and have not prescribed to it. I understand that Peace Health is the only one in the county. I belong to Family Health. They do not belong to it. And so it's not everybody. And I understand that some are deciding this isn't a good idea. The plan is that the insurance companies that have DCEs will allot like $7,000 a year for a client, and they can spend this technical money on their treatment. If it goes over that, then the doctor's responsible for it. If they don't go over it, then that's profit that the doctor gets to keep, or the insurance group gets to keep. And that's why it looks good. It's a gambling process, but it's something that not everybody has, and they're trying to sell it. It's interesting. It's like so many other things. They call it a pilot project and then they advertise it as a done deal, and it's not. They are flailing around to see if they can get enough people to buy it to make it go. And so that's why it's so important. You have to make sure to talk to your legislators and ask your doctors about it. And the portal that some people have, a patient portal, that's what you have to take a look at. Make sure you don't have things wrong. Now, when you go to a doctor, mine hands me a blue piece of paper that I have to take and turn into the office that has little check marks on what we discussed. And that is what these people want to get a hold of and uptick so that it has a higher monetary compensation. And that's what we have to keep track of. And it's a scam. It's a middleman. It is a hedge fund operated profit making system. And that's why we have to be cognizant of this.
MJ.
So I did have one question. Alan said something about getting a letter, Liz. I don't think that, I mean, I haven't gotten a letter. And I don't think when we were having this discussion with the League of Women Voters, people were getting a letter that it was just showing up. Is that right?
I've heard of some people getting letters. I have not got a letter. My husband hasn't received a letter. I think it's, again, one of those, maybe you will and maybe you won't. And when you do get the letter, it says something like no action required, just throw this away. We're just, it doesn't mean anything. So a lot of people don't even know they've gotten a letter because it's.
And I think the other thing that you pointed out earlier, but should be made more cognizant, is that you cannot opt out of this.
No, you can't.
You can opt in, but not opt out. And
yes.
Is that not right?
That is true. You can actually align yourself voluntarily. I'm not sure why one would, and I'm not sure how one does that, but that's what they say. But they don't wait for people to align themselves. You are aligned.
Yeah, but you can't opt out either.
No, you cannot.
That was the big thing that I got out of the League of Women Voters thing, is that you couldn't opt out.
How did you get out?
Oh, I should say this. I don't know if I'm in or out because I had a doctor in Bellingham that I liked, and I was going to him, and then I realized that he was going to be part of this DCE. So I went to the a doctor at Family Care Network, where I had heard that they weren't part of the DCEs, and I just did this recently and spoke to the doctor there. She didn't know what DCE, well, actually she called them direct care again. She didn't understand what they were, but she did go off on an interesting side road about how she had just spoken to the nicest man who was talking to her in her practice about how important it is to have care in the community and to bring everything back to the community, like clinics close by and telehealth and all these sort of like gym memberships, but on a medical level. And she was just all aglow. And I finally, I managed to get the guy's name from her. And I went and looked him up, and turns out he's a venture capitalist, and from Seattle. And yeah, so he's talking to FCN, by the way, you people who think you're safe. They're recruiting these venture capitalists are recruiting practices, and they will be DCNs if they're not, and they probably won't even know what happened. But they'll be part of the scheme. So anyway, when I figured all of that out, in the meantime, even before that, I had made an appointment, hedged my bets, and made an appointment at the UW neighborhood clinic, the northernmost one, which is in Shoreline, just to make sure that I would be aligned with the UW, system. And so now I'm going for my next appointment to see her next week, my new doctor with UW. And I'll probably have to pay for something somewhere, but I don't mind as long as I'm out of this system. And I said, I'll take a cab. I mean, I'll take a bus if I have to. I'm going to get out of this thing. And that's how you opt out.
Okay, so my thing with after listening to you and and Nancy Ging was on that, we're like, this Dr. Foster guy is like a salesperson or a politician. And Nancy and I were like in total agreement about that. So those of you who I don't know whether you can have that replayed, or I would post that again. So, and I'll be quiet now.
Well, he's on the payroll.
Oh, well, yeah.
We have 5 more questions on out there. We need to be able to move this along in a reasonable time, because I know Mary's got some limitations on recording of all of this as well. We're already an hour and a half in.
Okay.
So Sherry, if you would.
Well, mine's really quick. I wanted to tell you that the one way to look and see if you have been aligned or your doctor's aligned you with one of these DCEs, if you're a Peace Health patient particularly, look in your patient portal, and that will have deep buried in there, there'll be a letter about this, and it'll seem pretty mundane. The other thing is that, I don't know if you're getting them, but we've been getting phone calls from our disadvantage plan, wanting to come into our home and evaluate us. Well, they're trying to upcode doing that, because they're going to get into your home, and then you're going to say, oh yeah, once in a while my hip hurts or something. Oh, they're going to write down severe something or other. So they're trying to upcode that way too. So don't let them into your home. They use all kinds of excuses to get in.
They're going to look at things like loose, throw rugs and
Right.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just, it's insane.
That's all I
Gail.
got.
Gail, you there?
Yes, sorry. So we go to Peace Health. We're new to Medicare, and we have a supplement through Stevens retirement in Arizona that's United Healthcare. So is that like an advantage? I'm totally lost with all of these different terms.
No. A supplement is not like Advantage. A supplement is it's called a Medigap. So it'll pay the difference between what your Part B, I believe, it doesn't pay. It's a backup plan.
So it's not this kind of thing that you're talking about.
Well, yes, here's the thing, that I have what you have, okay? So I have traditional Medicare with a Medigap supplemental plan. I am the prime target of these DCEs, you and I, and everybody like us, because Medicare Advantage plans are off limits to DCEs because they're already under the wing of insurance companies. They're already getting sucked dry, okay? Or well, Medicare is through them. So they're untouchable. So the other portion, the 58% of us traditional Medicare recipients, with or without a supplement, are the ones that the DCEs are targeting.
Okay, so also, so we just started going to a new doctor that we love and want to stay with, but it is Peace Health. But I get a statement from Medicare and from Peace Health that every time we go to a doctor, I get a statement that's got all that coding, and I read them all. Is that not, keeping an eye on that and looking for discrepancies? Is that not something that would prevent some of that?
No, you can't prevent it. It's out of your hands. It's whatever your doctor says you are. I mean, there is no recourse. Whatever the code has been put down, they do that to make your allowance more generous, and then they get their 40% of that more generous allowance is more profitable.
Mary, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I was just going to say I'm going back to Canada.
Mary.
Yes, I am one of the people that received one of those letters, and I was pretty baffled by it, and I really am not real happy about what is going on with that. And so if my doctor has been sucked into that, and I choose to go.
Mary?
You froze.
Or can I try, Liz, are you trying?
You're freezing, Mary. Mary?
I couldn't hear you. You froze. Your internet isn't good.
You're freezing in and out. And Alan, while we're waiting for Mary.
Hey, am I still frozen?
No, you're back.
Okay, I'm back. All right. I got one of the letters. I do not want to be part of this. What can I do?
Make an appointment on the Shoreline Clinic. I mean, really and truly, I don't know. I think you could go to Unity Care, actually, or CMAR.
Family health.
Not necessarily. I mean, they're kind of tippy here. I'm not convinced that they're okay, but I think Unity and CMAR are probably the best choice. Unless you want to ride the bus with me.
Alan.
Yeah, my understanding is it's based, whether they can bring you in or not, is who your primary care physician is. If your primary care is, let's say, in Peace Health, they can pull you in. Now, how to get out of that, I don't know any way directly that's been publicized. I'm sure there hasn't been, but Sherry's, I think it was Sherry, thing of getting out of where you are and going to another doctor and designating that doctor as your primary care might help, but no telling. I mean, if I didn't have already my primary care at Unity Care, I would be in trouble.
Yes.
And I would probably also be in trouble if I didn't already be in some sort of insurance plan, not pure Medicare, which is what I was, because I'm a prime target. I mean, my drug bills are over $36,000 a year just to keep me alive. So yeah, I'm a good target. I haven't gotten one of those letters, but many people have. But my understanding is, from what I've read, it's based on who your official primary doctor of record is. So I would look at that as a mousetrap to maybe get out.
Yeah, I think I am going to do that, and I think I am going to let Peace Health know verbally with letters and with my action of walking away exactly why I would be walking away. And I think if people are going to get out, that's probably a good thing to do.
Yeah, I do too. I agree. Ellen, I have a question though. I don't know the answer to, but I think that the fact that you are such an expensive patient doesn't not enhance your value to the DCE. They're looking for people not who are going to cost them money, but who are relatively well that they can make look sick.
Yes, and that's part of my problem is I look real good, but in reality, I have had a lot of things put onto my chart that aren't true. You can bill for. I've had not Unity Care, but I've had other doctors try to run me through the ringer, even before the DCE stuff. So my understanding, the most important thing of what I said is, my understanding is it's based on your primary care physician of record.
I believe that's true.
And that's important. And David had another, was still a little confused on upcoding, as he put this in the chat, as whether it's legal or is it considered Medicare fraud. Well, that's a really gray, slippery slope. Yes, I do. I personally think it's a good thing to look at every single report that comes back and say, these are the charges that you got. And go to somebody about it if it doesn't seem right. Like when I was in Seattle, I had to go for an evaluation, and it was done not, I forget the name of it. It's not the main hospital. It's not Harborview, and it's not the other one. There's a third. Besides being billed $3,000 for this evaluation, I was also billed, which Medicare paid for, 100%. I was also billed $3,000 for the facility use, i.e. the room we were sitting in. So yeah, you got to watch this stuff, because if we don't, these groups get away with this. And when you see this kind of thing, talk to your Congress people, talk to somebody, talk to the local news, and tell them that this stuff is going on. Because yeah, the question is upcoding legal or is it fraud? Very slippery. It's hard to prove. It has been proven. Medicare has done it, but it takes them sometimes years to respond to something like that.
It's like suing somebody for slander. You know, it's.
Dick, you had a question on out there a little while ago.
Who are you talking to? I just have a comment. There's some good news. Some investors aren't investing in DCEs, and their stock prices are going down. So maybe the market will take care of this whole mess.
No, it won't.
It won't.
No. It's so profitable. You know, if you look at the root of all of this, this is, one of the biggest honeypots in our economy. And the only thing that will change this or resolve it is single payer. Single payer for everybody across the board. That's it. It's like getting money out of politics. You get money out of healthcare, and you give everybody healthcare, and then this sort of fraud and graft isn't possible.
Liz, it brings up a whole lot of different things for all of us to consider. I don't want to be somebody else's profit center for the rest of my life. I happen to be a boomer like most of us are here. And guess what? We're the biggest chunk that they're going to come after.
That's right.
So thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Any
Thank you.
further questions? Great. Liz, we really appreciate you being here. Very informative. Folks, you need to be asking the questions. There are big questions out there. And
Please
it's
take
more-
the information from the, if you got it from the last slide, or if it's recorded, maybe you
It
can.
is recorded. This will be on the website. So you'll
Okay.
be able to check on in ourlummyisland.org. Not that I
Great.
shamelessly plug it, but I do. Alan.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
if you could send me a PDF version of your PowerPoint,
Yeah.
I can post it up, you know,
On the web.
on the website, as a health, awareness thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
happy.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank everybody. This has been great. Thank
This
you
has
so
been a-
much, Liz. Leica, everybody. It's been
This
great.
is also, Liz, on our League of Women Voters Bellingham Whatcom County website.
That's-
Dr. Foster's presentation that Liz was at.
Thank you for reminding everybody of that. And so is a lot of other good information on that site. And the Physicians for National Health Plan.org is a great resource. So thank you, everybody, for hosting this and for participating. It gives me hope. It should give you all hope.
Thank you.
Well, now comes the part of the program that I enjoy the most. Before we get a chance to give some money away. Paul Davis, why don't you reach into that can and pull out a number? That's who we can come up with and give 30
I
bucks.
just had to unmute myself. Can. A lid off the can. There's the can. I reach down to the bottom, pull one out.
I'm on top.
No, it's off. Oh, I got two of them here. I have to keep fiddling until I get just one. No, that's two. There's one. And you can't see the number, but the number is too high. We don't have that many subscribers. So I'm going to try again. That's not that funny.
It just proves that we need more subscribers.
Oh, yeah. And here is 421. And that's just a few over the limit. Keep trying. I only have 409. And here is another one, 443. Gee. I've got over 500 things in here.
If you're not a subscriber, there's your number.
That's 513.
I think you need to clean out your can.
Yeah.
I'm digging, I get digging deeper to the bottom of the can. 521.
I just stir it up a little bit.
That's what I'm doing. I got my hand in there and I'm stirring.
What you need is Vanna to just reach in for you.
Oops. 575. This has never
The
happened. Like,
longest we've ever tried to give away money, by the way.
Vanna won't do this for him. Are you
this
kidding?
has never happened like this before. I got a
I
520,
know it's never happened that I know of. Yeah.
522.
I think we gotta fire that coffee can.
Oh, I don't believe it. 512.
You got the right
Hey.
can, Paul?
I got a 270.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm gonna find a pencil and write this down.
Anticipation.
270.
Is making me wait.
Okay. Now we get the book. These names are in here in the order in which they subscribed.
Are they alive?
Pardon?
No.
You subscribe annually.
Oh, that's right.
I got a name here, and they have never come to a meeting. Steve and Michelle Luke.
Well,
Okay, 35
Keep
bucks
collect.
next time. Yep.
Do you still, I know when I first moved here, I think you used to say who didn't win. Do you still do that, Paul, in the tome?
Who
Yeah.
did-
yeah,
Wait a
he
minute.
does.
yeah.
How do I know who didn't win?
No, when
No,
they're,
you put in there who didn't win.
yeah, if they weren't present, I thought you used to say, like so-and-so
Yeah.
wasn't there, so
Oh,
they didn't.
yeah. I do that
Yeah, he
every
does
month.
Okay.
I always
does
do
that.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Every month. Yeah. Every month there's a meeting. Mhm.
Well, we tried once again. Next month, we'll do it small. Thank
Okay,
you all
but
very much.
Can,
Appreciate you
Greg,
being here tonight. I'm going to move to adjourn. I need to have all board members remain. We need to elect officers.
good night. Thank
Have a
you.
night.
wonderful
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you so much.
I should have paid for a board meeting for an executive. I'm sorry. No, I'm trying to.
Nancy,
I need to put my glasses down.
we need to get rid of Nancy.
Okay,
There she is.
there's 9 of us.